All right, I guess we ready to get started? All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Danny Oakes. I'm a product manager at Unity Wētā Tools, working on the environment workflows. And welcome to our breakout session. In this session, we're going to be covering solutions for game artists who are working across character creation and environments. Just out of curiosity, how many people work in environments here? How many people work in characters? How many people are just excited for new tools to use inside of Unity? All right, that's great. This is going to be a good session. All right, so just real quick, a little bit about what we do at Unity Wētā Tools. What we do is we're really committed to delivering a collection of artist tools to create high-fidelity content that is both performant and available to use with all major 3D engines and digital content creation tools. What this means is that while we are working to make great tools for Unity, this means that these tools should also work wherever you're working, which means if you're working inside of Blender, inside of Maya, inside of Max, these tools should go with you there. But to kick things off, let me introduce you to Julian Hodgson. He's a manager in our graphics engineering team for character tools. And take it away, Julian.
Hey, thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. So hi, I'm Julian. I work in the Unity Wētā Tools character group. More specifically, I work on one of our newest tools, which is Ziva Real-Time. I'll be talking about this in detail shortly. Originally, I'm from a background in computer graphics 3D hardware, but since then, I've been working in VFX and software development for over 20 years, working in commercials, animation, and film studios such as Framestore, Cinesight, and ILM. My career spanned creature rigging for muscles, building pipelines, research, simulation tools, and creating render solutions in Houdini. Outside of my work, you might find me climbing and scrambling in the mountains of the UK. I'm very excited to be here at Unite, to help bring it all together and to work on creating amazing character tools in real time. So, I'm here to tell you how Unity Wētā Tools can bring blockbuster quality characters into Unity. Let me introduce you to some of our tools. If you're not familiar with Ziva, we provide multiple solutions that help raise the bar of what is possible for technical artists or TDs. Ziva Real-Time is our latest product and allows artists to deploy film quality characters into a real-time game engine using machine learning. The trained characters are performant and have a minimal memory footprint. It helps to dramatically speed up the evaluation of deformations in character rigs, whatever the content creation tool used for authoring. Ziva VFX, on the other hand, provides tools to replicate the organic behavior of any soft tissue. This leads to realistic deformations and simulations modeled on actual muscles and fat, soft tissues, and skin. This can be used with both photorealistic and stylized characters. Combined with Ziva Real-Time, these deformations can be learned and played back in your game engine. Our newest tool is Wig. It's coming soon. It's an award-winning tool that gives modelers full creative control for hair and fur to create stunning visual and authentic grooms. It's production-proven and used in many projects by Wētā FX. So there's more on Ziva VFX and Wig later, but for now, let's jump into Ziva Real-Time. Ziva Real-Time 2.0 is now available by general release since SIGGRAPH this summer, and it can be downloaded from Unity on our Ziva store. So there are two components that make up Ziva Real-Time. The first component is the Ziva Real-Time trainer, used by artists or character TDs. After creating their final creature rigs as usual in their existing pipeline, they will then train the asset in the Ziva Real-Time trainer using machine learning. This produces a portable and performant version of the character rig, which is then used for animation in real-time engines. The second component is the Ziva Real-Time player. This is used by artists and animators to play back their new full frame rate version of their rig, which can be loaded into Unity as a real-time asset. The Ziva Real-Time players are also available in Maya and Unreal and can be added to other game engines via our SDK, if a more general solution is required. So now let's look at an artist's workflow that utilizes both of these components. In my experience before Ziva Realtime, working with high-fidelity character rigs in production has always been limited by the playback performance, both during previews and during gameplay. Ziva Realtime addresses both of these pain points, offering a solution that I believe will revolutionize the character animation process. Here you can see the new workflow. On the left, the typical workflow is shown, where character TDs rig and build their characters using tools or techniques as their choice, as required by a character's performance. For example, using Maya or Ziva VFX. Then we come to the new, and what I think is a very exciting stage, seen here in the middle. This new training step is needed in order to deliver real-time rigs, where machine learning takes a training data set and uses this to encode a fast and interactive version of the rig for use in games. Ziva Realtime learns the shape deformations coming from your character rig. In this way, our solution offers an innovative alternative to traditional techniques such as blend shapes, muscle simulations, and morphs. The Ziva Realtime Trainer user experience is found in a desktop application where machine learning captures and records your training data, creating what we call a ZRT file. All the training is performed locally with no dependency on the cloud or outside services, so all the data remains on your machine for your own use. Once the character is loaded and all the required inputs have been set up, training is triggered interactively. This means that after just a few minutes, the ZRT file is ready and the results can be played back using the timeline in the application. We also provide solutions for training on the command line for batch processing. Using our Python API, you can create a deeper integration within your custom tools. Ziva Realtime can also be used for deforming cloth that was created with a quasi-static solver. Think of a solver where the physics creates realistic wrinkles, but there are no dynamic effects, so that we get consistent results, whatever the animation. This creates believable clothing results and a fast and realistic performance, which until now could only be achieved with computationally expensive solvers that could not run in real time. You can see this technique being applied here to our digital human, Samir. Please come and say hello at our demo station to find out more. See him running in Unity engine in real time, including fully trained cloth deformations. So to summarize, Ziva Realtime is an exciting tool for game character artists that will help you to unlock real-time character performances effectively, allowing for playback of complex deformations and clothing in real time. This is because the Ziva Realtime Trainer takes thousands of frames, creating a real-time character in minutes, which our player package evaluates in just milliseconds. So all in all, it's an ideal solution for game studios, given its lightweight assets, fast training process, and cross-platform playback solutions. I'll now take you through a brief overview of Ziva VFX, one of our better-known character creation tools. Ziva VFX is a Maya-based plugin that empowers artists and character TDs to achieve unparalleled realism in their character and creature animation rigs. With its advanced simulation tools, it provides realistic deformations of bones, muscles, soft tissues, and skin. It saves time by giving you physically accurate results, removing the need for fixing shapes and applying technical corrections. This frees up space for your artistic vision and allows you to embrace creative iteration without manual sculpting. It will help you to achieve a better final creative in less time. Ziva VFX first made its mark in the creation of highly realistic creatures and characters in the film industry. The finite element solver for volumetric simulation means character TDs have precise control over the behavior of the soft tissues, muscles, and skin needed for realistic simulation. And further, it eliminates the need for fixing intersection issues and gives believable results right out of the box. But there are now a greater use of Ziva VFX for stylized characters as well, as you can see here with Nova the cat. Although more graphic, they still show high-quality, physically based deformations achieved using the same principles. You can also come and say hello to Nova alongside Samir at our demo booth, running live in Unity. Brian Anderson, the creator of Nova, will also be there. The latest addition to Unity Wētā Tools is Wig, which will be available from early next year. Used for over 12 years in some of Hollywood's highest-grossing films, Wig is a hair and authoring tool for Maya with a USD-based plugin. It is used by modelers and groomers to create both ultra-realistic and stylized hair and fur. Wig speeds up the creation of hero grooms from weeks to a matter of days using the power of procedural workflows. Here are some of the key benefits of Wig. It features a fast and efficient, artist-friendly workflow, allowing for detailed art direction, which can match any desired look with production quality. Once you've perfected your hairstyle, it's simple to transfer your groom to a new character. Since the technology was born out of a production environment, it's well capable of handling the film quality datasets you might need. Finally, it's super pipeline friendly, featuring USD, Alembic, and Python support, so it's easy to work with other applications and build it into your pipeline. In releasing Wig, we're taking a production-proven tool and enhancing its usability to give it an approachable and practical authoring style. Here's a snapshot of some of the updates we're making to Wig, showing sculpting, clumping, and painting tools in Maya. On the right, you can see how you can work effectively in Houdini as well, using a scene imported via USD from Wig. After import, you continue to work with Houdini's procedural workflow. With access to all the exported Wig attributes, you can continue to modify guide curves, rebuild clumps, or change the frizziness, and so on. Last year, we partnered with an amazing animation school, Monster Emporium, to show off Wig in real time. Here you can see a capture from a PS5 where it was running at 30 frames per second. The simulation is all in Unity, and the character rigs that we used for the animation are the filmic rigs made available through the Monster Emporium school. All hair and fur for the lions are running fully dynamically in real time using Wig grooms. And here is just an example of all the different types of hair you can create with Wig. If you look closely, you may recognize similarities of hairstyles coming out of the movies. Finally, if you'd like more information on our character tools, or to see Nova the cat and Samir running in real time, please do come and see us at our demo booth. I'll leave you with a link to our Ziva store via the QR code, where you can find all of our Ziva products. We now have a few short minutes for a Q&A before I pass over to Danny to talk us through Unity Wētā Tools' vegetation solutions.
All right. As I said before, my name is Danny Oakes, Senior Technical Product Manager. Came over from the SpeedTree acquisition, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about trees, and so I'm really excited to be here to talk even more about trees. So let's get into the vegetation workflows for Unity. To start, we're going to go with a very common question when it comes to SpeedTree, which is, what is SpeedTree? This is a common question because there's a lot of different types of trees that you can bring into Unity. There's a lot of different ways to make trees. So why do we need a tool just to make trees? What is SpeedTree? Really, it's important to remember that SpeedTree is a complete workflow. There's three main components. There's a modeler that you use to make the trees. There's a library of assets that feed into that modeler that are in our procedural asset format. And then there's an SDK that integrates these assets into an engine. So for example, our integrations into Unity and Unreal both use parts of this SDK. And some of our larger game customers use the SDK to control everything from wind to forest occlusion, the whole 9 yards. But the heart of this workflow is really the SpeedTree modeler, and that's what I want to talk about for just 1 second. The heart is the SpeedTree modeler, and the heart of the SpeedTree modeler is working procedurally. You may have noticed in the character conversations that we were just having, a lot of talk about procedural and a lot of talk about non-destructive. The SpeedTree modeler is the same way. You're primarily working procedurally, you're working non-destructively, and you're creating assets that are intended to be used in as a flexible way as possible. This is the advantage of creating procedurally and creating from scratch inside of SpeedTree, is that you can create assets that can be optimized for mobile or can scale all the way up to a hero tree inside of just one asset. Working procedurally gives you the ability to craft a tree that communicates exactly what you want from your environment. And that's really important, even when trees are in the background. This procedural format also allows us to very quickly export static meshes like FBX or OBJ, or export it out to a runtime format very quickly. This helps speed up iteration time as you're working. If you want to export a tree out to work as like a .st file inside of Unity, you can do that. If you want to export it out as an FBX for a custom implementation, you can do that all as well, just from one file format. So let's talk about what's new real quick. This year, we've released more features for the SpeedTree modeler than I've ever seen come out in a year. Again, been with SpeedTree for a long time, and we released 2 versions, 9.4 and 9.5, and both of these had some really incredible features for helping people to work more intuitively, more creatively, and also just really solving some really common pain points. So 9.4, we released global lighting tools. These are tools that help your tree appear essentially more soft and fuzzy. Lighting is an important part for shaping objects in games, as I'm sure you guys all know. And being able to control the normals across the entire tree mean that you can remove some of those kind of angular black spots and really have the shape that you want, whether it's a stylized shape for a more stylized game, or even trees that need to be in the distance and have a really soft shape for it for your landscape. We also added vertex color packing for games. This is really important if you're using a custom wind implementation, just vertex color wind. But this is also really helpful if you're doing something like setting trees on fire or any kind of additional VFX. You can paint vertex colors inside of the SpeedTree modeler, and then you can export them out in whatever format you need. That's really critical for a lot of cool effects that people are trying to do. We added some other features in 9.4, such as texture map recoloring and FBX scene cameras, which are really just about making sure that the trees that you see inside of the SpeedTree modeler reflect what you get on the other side. We released 9.5 just a few months ago, and in 9.5, I really kind of tried to focus in on the details. So 9.5 includes frond manipulation. What you're able to do is actually like paint on fronds in the different sections to get a lot of detail for each individual. We call them frond fingers, but that's not a really good name, so I don't really know what you call them. But you get that kind of like wiggly effect with fronds to create really high detailed meshes. One of the advantages of that with the cutout editor painting improvements and the tessellation improvements is that you can also optimize this mesh all the way up to a really high detail leaf, or you can pull it all the way down to something that's really low poly. Those are really helpful for creating hero assets or creating background assets that really reflect the shape that you want. Another feature that we added is projectors. Projectors is simply a tool that ray casts onto the tree, and it casts whatever you want. It casts meshes, it can cast generators, it can cast snow, mushrooms, really whatever you need to. And this is really helpful for decorating trees, kind of getting that detail that you want. We've seen some really cool use of this in terms of creating moss, again, putting mushrooms on the tree. We really tried to make this as open-ended as possible so that you can decide how you want to use it. And one of the great things about releasing this many products this year, or this many features, is just how quickly they've been adopted. So Studio Gimbal has been a long time user of SpeedTree, and they sent us this video just a couple weeks ago that highlights their usage of SpeedTree 9.5 just after release and how they've incorporated it in their workflow. And honestly, it's been really mind-blowing to just see people just immediately take up these features and then put them in use in production. So I'm not going to sit us through this whole video, but afterwards, if you guys want to go to our YouTube page, you can find it there. I highly recommend that you go through it and they talk about their workflow, and it's really worth watching. So, great. We know how to make trees. Making trees is hard. Now we have a way to do it. That's really great, but I wanted to go a little bit more into how this actually works for games. So if you're using SpeedTree for games, what the workflow typically looks like is, one, you're going to make your asset. You're going to do the procedural edits inside of SpeedTree. You're going to shape your tree. You're going to fine-tune it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to export the game-ready model. This is going to create a runtime format model. We use the .st format, which stands for SpeedTree, obviously. It works inside of Unity. And it's also going to make a texture atlas for your tree as well. So you can export the tree, export all the textures you need, export it directly into your Unity project. And because we have a native integration with Unity, it's going to be picked up automatically by an importer. It's going to bring it into your scene, and it's going to be as close as possible to what you saw inside the SpeedTree modeler. With wind working on it, with LEDs working on it, it just works. But this, the it just works part actually leads to a very important piece of what we've also been working on, which is helping make Unity be a better place for trees. Obviously, working with SpeedTrees is really important for us, and we work day in and day out inside of Unity, just testing trees, testing new concepts. So we've been working really hard with the team to make sure that the improvements that they're bringing really work well to make it a better place for Unity to work. You guys may have seen a lot of these improvements in the keynote and in the roadmap session, and frankly, I'm incredibly excited to get my hands on the new Unity 6 and just start throwing hundreds and hundreds of trees to see what it can do. Along with that, we've got an improved SpeedTree integration. This has a GPU-driven wind, which is going to really help relieve pressure on the CPU. It's got a new lightning fast version of our wind. This implementation that we're using in SpeedTree 9 is going to be, the best way to describe it is it's got the lightweight performance of a vertex color wind, but it has all the complexity of a SpeedTree wind. What we do is we use an algorithm to paint the data on the tree, and it just creates a really simple, easy to implement wind that can be used in a lot of customized ways as well. We've also had a lot of quality of life improvements for materials, so we're hoping that in general, Unity will be just a much better place to work with SpeedTree, and honestly, it's going to be the best place to work with SpeedTree. So, on top of that, our developers are also hard at work getting ready for some incredible releases next year. And I'm really excited to kind of give you guys a quick sneak peek at some of the features that are coming down the pipeline for SpeedTree 10. So SpeedTree 10 is the first release of our modeler that I think really kind of starts to reflect what it means for us to be a part of Wētā Tools. The reason for that is because a lot of the features that we're implementing, such as having vines that you can drape across branches, or having workflows where you can just simply draw a circle to trim the tree, or comb the tree in the same way that you could essentially like a hair groom. These workflows are really inspired by our friends over at Wētā Digital and some of the work that they do in Lumberyard, and we're really excited to see that come into the SpeedTree modeler. Along with that, we have a refreshed UX, so this is going to really make the SpeedTree modeler feel a lot more modern and up to date, and hopefully make it a lot easier to find what the property that you're trying to find when you're editing a tree. There's a lot of properties on a tree, and sometimes it can get quite overwhelming. I think this UX refresh is going to make it a lot easier to use. And we've really edited everything from the property menus to the sliders, and frankly, it just looks snazzy, and I'm really happy to use it. But on top of that, we've also been working to lay a foundation a little bit deeper than these features for what we think comes next for SpeedTree. And that's rules. So over the entirety of SpeedTree's development, we've really been working to try to find a balance between art directing your tree, right? Having your tree reflect exactly what you want it to be. The artist sees in their mind, I want this tree to look like this, but we can't just simply simulate that tree that is in the artist's mind. They have to be able to art direct it. So we've been kind of trying to bridge the gap between removing the TDM of making a tree and also making this tree reflect exactly what the artist wants. And our solution to this is rules. And what rules are is essentially a super property. What you can do is you can combine multiple properties inside of a generator. Let's say the width of the branch and the length of the branch, tie those into one slider and say this is now an age slider to make the branch grow bigger and smaller. And what's great about this is there's really no limit to how you can use this. That can be tied to simply one branch. It can be tied to the whole tree, so you can control 15, 20 properties all at once in one slider to simulate complex things like the age of a tree, or even things like alive and dead, or things like on fire, not on fire. Really, it's up to you to be able to kind of compose and craft and create new ways to work with trees. And all of this is controlled by a simple Lua script that you can edit inside the SpeedTree modeler. And as we're building this, it really seems like the natural next step, if we're going to be having a way to add rules to trees, that we create a library of assets that have these rules pre-applied. So our artists have been working really hard to find rules that work best across all of these assets to create a whole new library of assets that allow you to quickly edit these trees, to be able to change the shape, to be able to change the season, to be able to change a lot of these essential elements of the tree without having to dive into the properties. So what we're doing is we're creating a whole new library of trees that have these rules that are going to be delivered inside of a new standalone desktop application. And what this is going to allow you to do is open up a tree, view it in a 3D modeler, and edit these rules, either rules that you've created yourself or rules that have come with the tree. And then from there, you can export it directly into the SpeedTree modeler to make more complex edits, or export it directly into Unity or any other DCC, because it has all that same procedural power of the SpeedTree modeler, just in a much more compact and lightweight form. So this is a feature that I'm really excited about, because I think it's going to make the SpeedTree library just a lot easier to use, because you don't necessarily need to dive into the SpeedTree modeler to start using the library. And with the addition of rules and having a whole library of trees, the next logical step would be, well, why not just implement it directly into the Unity editor? So that's the next thing that we've been working on. What you see right here is a prototype that we've been building that shows some of the potential of using rules inside of the Unity editor. With rules, because these are properties that can be driven by other things, we have trees that can conform to the trees around them. We have grass that can be alive or dead based on its nearness to a toxic barrel. The options are pretty much limitless in terms of what you could do with this. But what's going to be really exciting about it is the ability to have a library of procedural assets that can work inside the SpeedTree modeler, inside the SpeedTree library app, or inside the Unity editor, so you can continue changing and continue iterating without having to go all the way back to another tool. All of this is enabled through something that's new. It's called the Pipeline SDK. And this Pipeline SDK is kind of powering the SpeedTree library app. And essentially what it is, it's the backbone of the procedural engine, SpeedTree procedural engine that is going to be offered as a separate Pipeline SDK. The timeline for these things coming out, so 2024, we're going to have a new SpeedTree modeler. We're going to have a new library, including a new application to deliver it. We're going to have the SpeedTree Runtime SDK, which is what we use to integrate SpeedTree into custom engines, and improve SpeedTree Unity integration. And the new Pipeline SDK is also going to be available as well. The Unity and SpeedTree procedural integration is kind of come a little bit further down the line, but we're going to be really excited to talk more about it next year at GDC. So with that, just got a few links for you here. If you're interested in trying out SpeedTree 9.5, some of the new features that we've released this year, you can download it. The new URP sample also has some really great usage of SpeedTree that was done by our artists, especially the Garden sample has a really great stylized cherry tree. The Oasis is also filled with SpeedTrees. And if you're interested in betas for our products, feel free to sign up here. All right, and I'll just leave this up while the next step is we open it up for questions. So I guess, does anyone have any questions about SpeedTree? Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming to the talk.